Imagine that you've been working with a client and providing them with a plan to rehabilitate the entrance to their house here. You've provided a dry stone gully through here and a bridge leading to some more planting on the other side, and primarily as low maintenance native trees and shrubs are used. But the client, let's imagine that the client would like a more formal design. They're not too happy with the design of the lawned area that's running through here. And what I want to illustrate is, let's get rid of that now. That's a hatched area and a poly line through here. What they would prefer is a more formal line, a more formal lawn in that area. And I'd like to use this design to illustrate the value of using the rectangle command and the way that you can operate with it. I've put a rectangle here, and you have a number of grips here, and it's not immediately obvious how these might be used. The center grip here enables you just to move the whole rectangle, but you can change the size of it just by grabbing a handle on the corners and just moving away, and the rectangle will change size, the width and height, and that's over there in the properties box giving you the width and height. You can type the values in there if you like, and that would make a little more sense to edit in that way. But you can also change the width of the rectangle and the height with these grips that are in the middle, and that can be very convenient in a case like this. So what we will do now, I think, is we'll use the rectangle command and we'll roughly place a lawned area in there. So draw and rectangle, just with 2 points. So we play with a lawned area, something like that one. And we pick it, and they want a formal design, but let's imagine that you want to rotate the rectangle. You can just move around like so, and if we right click and go to drafting settings, if we turn polar tracking on, we've got 45-degree angle jumps and a whole lot of others which we're not going to use here. But now as I move around, can you see we move it at a shallower angle. Whoops. Let's undo that. That's me shaking with my mouse. So let's come here. We can get that's one of the shallow angles. And there's a 45-degree angle. Let's go with that shallow angle there, and then position the lawn. Maybe we're going to need it to end up close to the end of the wooden bridge that crosses the dry gulch. And now we'll see if we can make it a little bigger using those techniques. So if we click here and drag, can you see where we're able to widen it? I'm getting closer now to where I want to be for the footbridge. And if we wanted to, we could increase the size in that direction. And so I'm relatively happy with it, but I might want to go at an unusual angle. I really want to rotate that around and just by eye place it like so. So that might make life a little more difficult for the construction team, but we can now pick that rectangle, there will be a lawn, pick it in the middle, and then use a snap tool and pick to the insertion point. There we are, snap to insertion. And there we are, we're finding the insertion point of that one, which wasn't a smart move. I needed to move that grip there now again to an insertion point. Now we can find the insertion point easily. We can do that. And so now the lawned area now is going to sit nicely. What I would do at this point is round those numbers off. The width, it's 6019. This is in the metric area, but the same applies in the imperial or US area, 6010. That makes it a little easier. And then 42, so we want 4250, 4250. And now we have a lawned area that's easy to peg out for our construction team. Now I just moved, I had earlier placed a rectangle with the appropriate settings of a border color and the color and even the transparency. So I can just use modify and match the properties of this one to that one. And there's our lawned area. We might want to send that to the back. Tools, send it to the back so that the paving bricks, as we move through it, look reasonable. And what we then want to do is hatch it like it was before. We probably have to copy a couple of other symbols around. Like so. Looking at it now, I'd probably want to access the lawned area through here from a vehicle rather than come in via the entrance there. But you can see design ideas bob up as we start working with it. And draw hatch. We want, in this case, a grass pattern. Select the entity first. We'll do better. Then we can pick the density there. You might want to say reduce that to 500 and OK it. Ooh, way too dense. You can see hatching is quite an experimental thing. Try 100 and I'll escape. There's our hatching. We still need to reduce it more. So 20 looks a more reasonable result. And there we are. We want to send those paving bricks to the front. And that looks fine. So I hope that illustrates the use of the rectangle command when you're drafting.